I don't know if there can be a more exciting day than this day right now. And I tell my my son that every single day. I tell my daughter that. I tell my wife that. And sometimes the circumstances aren't the greatest, but this today is the greatest day that you'll ever have if you choose it, right? And we're doing the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day. We're going to go back in time because we didn't get a chance to cover Proverbs 4. And Proverbs 4 means a lot to me because it's a follow-up to Proverbs 3, obviously. But Proverbs 3, 5 and 6, 4, 5, and 6, the verses, was something that my pops was constantly saying to me. He said, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not to your own understandings, in all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. And so when I looked at that, what God told me is, well, first you have to trust. If you trust, you can lean. If you lean, then you'll submit. If you submit, I'll make your path straight. But if your path isn't straight, you haven't submitted. If you haven't submitted, you haven't leaned. If you don't lean, then it means you don't trust me. So just trust me, everything will be cool. And so in Proverbs 3, it was amazing. And then Proverbs 4 was a follow-up to that. And, we're going to be talking about the fact that he already knows. All the things that you're going through right now, he already knows. If you're in the valley right now, he knows. If you're on the mountaintop, he knows. And so if you're on the mountaintop, he's getting you prepared to go into the valley. And pick your valley because it's going to be dark, it's going to be cold, it's going to be nasty, but it's going to be where you rest. If you're in that dark, nasty, and cold right now, what he's saying is get rest because I got a mountain for you to climb. I know he already knows every single little thing. Some station identification is going to be the Vibe Room is July 23rd. It's a live version of the podcast. We got none other than Mr. Roy Tuscany, the founder of the High Fives Foundation. He's a spinal cord injury extreme athlete that has broken down the walls once he came back. All the things they told him he couldn't do, he adapted and then destroyed. And I was lucky enough to hang out with 3-time Super Bowl champion Lonnie Paxton today. We got a chance. I did some coaching for him yesterday. We're working with him and crafting his story. And, as we go along, and he gifted me today with a collaboration, High Fives hat, collaboration with Melon Hats. The hats are actually for big heads like me that, you don't take up all the space on the snapback, but it's fit different. It's built different. Some of the greatest hats in the world, Melon and the High Fives Foundation, which is amazing. That's going to be in association with the Vibe Room, which is going to be incredible. It's going to be July 23rd in Salt Lake City, and very limited tickets that are available. So reach out on the website, through Instagram, anything like that, and we'll be able to get you tickets for that. But let's go back to the corresponding proverb, corresponding date. We're going back in time, though, because it's Proverbs 4, and it's June 5th today. It's all about that he already knows. Let's get this party started.
Nothing more on my mind. I got to shine, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never know, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
A big shout out to Mr. Roy Tuscany. We're actually working on his book right now to be able to get it out, and it's going to be a bestseller. It's going to be unbelievable. His story of triumph and his attitude, it's incredible. We just got done. I just worked with Keith Hale on his book, Embracing Vulnerability, and that just came out, #1 bestseller. We don't know if Lonnie Paxton is going to do a book, but we're talking about it, and so coaching him on that, and so it's just so exciting to be able to have these incredible human beings that I get a chance to be able to work with. And big shout out to Louis Hamner, Louis Talks podcast. I just went out and set up his podcast for him, and creating the most efficient workflow in the podcast space, and being able to produce and, and edit and do all the things to be able to create incredible shows like you're experiencing right now. So I want to welcome you to The Vibe. As you guys know, if you've been with us, The Vibe has a bunch of different components. It's not just about one thing. The emphasis of it is not the way that the energy that you bring into the room, but the way that people feel when you leave. That's the vibe. That's your vibe. How do people feel when you leave? And so we've got a couple different shows on the podcast, which one, I interview some of the most iconic people in the world. Number two, I do Inchstones, which is what we're doing today, the corresponding proverb, corresponding day. We take 3,000-year-old wisdom and find out how it can be applicable in our life today. And then also I have a show called You Have to Meet My Friends, where I go live and I randomly call my friends and they have no idea. And then they're on the podcast right then and we have a conversation, which is amazing. We are working on a show right now that is going to be the Irrational Sports Show that has nothing to do with any facts, but will have everything to do with our opinions, me and my friends, about our own teams that we're irrational fans. And if you've known me for a while, I'm an irrational fan of the Tennessee Titans, formerly the Houston Oilers. And I know every single year we're going to go 17-0, undefeated through the playoffs, home field advantage, and we're going to win the Super Bowl every single year. That's the way I feel in the off season because I'm irrational. So let's get back to the program, Proverbs 4. The reason why I thought this was so important and to be able to go back in time, even though it's the 5th of June, is because this message hit me so hard yesterday, and we got a chance to spend time with our men's group, and I got to share this with them, and we kind of discussed this, which I thought was awesome. So, the emphasis was that he already knows. He already knows all the things that are ahead. He knows the things that are behind. He knows the things that are coming. He knows the things that are going to entice you. So if we just stay in communication with him, he'll let us know as he sees fit. And this is probably one of the hardest things that we'll ever do because we want to get into a ritual. We want to get into a religion. And then what we do is we start worshiping that ritual or religion thinking that that's going to bring the increase when it's not at all. It's going to be God, and he's going to bring it exactly when he'll have it because it's his will, his plan, and his timing. And so I want to encourage you all that if you're in the valley, you're getting rest to climb the next mountain, you're on the mountaintop, get ready because you're probably going to go into the valley and get some rest. So if we know those kind of things and we know the one who built it anyway, we know the one who has all the answers, and we know the one who already knows, we have not an easy path, but a simpler one. So in verse 1 in Proverbs 4, he said, listen, pay attention, and gain understanding. It was very simple, and it's incredible because most of the charges that he gives us are very, very simple, but because they're so simple, we have the tendency to overlook it. We look for the complicated. Why? Because if we can make it complicated, especially in business or in leadership, if we can make it complicated, then we can become more important. If we're more important, then people can't replace us. But when we shift our ego back a little bit and we realize that he already knows, not us, he already knows what we're going to go through. Then we start putting emphasis on him. Then when we succeed in a certain place, the only place we could do is say, hey, it was because of him. And why don't you go spend time with him? Not through my rituals, not through my religion, but just through a relationship, your relationship, because it's going to be different than my relationship. Your relationship is going to be completely different. So he says it, and he says, listen, pay attention, and gain understanding. It's pretty simple. Although the simple, most of the time, we don't listen to. And that's in verse 1. In number 2, it was the setup. And I love this because 3,000-year-old wisdom, a lot of times when people read the word or I'm reading the NIV in Proverbs, and when I say the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day, there's 31 proverbs in the book of Proverbs. There's 31 days most of the time in a month. And if you read the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day, it's about 27, 30 verses or whatever it is. Take you about 3-4 minutes. And when you read it, there's so many great nuggets inside of it. And this first nugget, I love it because some people tell me I won't read the Bible because it doesn't make sense today. But here it is. Here's the setup. And he gave us the rundown to be the greatest salesperson in the entire world. Watch this. In verse 2 through 4, he gives the value, right? He gives the value of it first. Number 2, he relates to who he's talking to. Number 3, he identifies the excuses and overcomes objections. And in number 4, he gives you the value proposition to end it. And so in that, in verse 2 through 4, watch this. I give you sound learning. Do not forsake my teaching, right? So he gives you the value, right? I give you sound learning. Do not forget my teaching. And then when he goes to the relating, for I too was a son of my father, still tender and cherished by my mother. How many of us have heard something from someone who we needed to hear it from, and then we ran to someone who we know will protect us and protect us from that information? I've had this happen. I had it happen the other day with my son. I got a little angry, which wasn't the best thing in the world. And when I did, he ran to his mama. And when he ran to his mama, I yelled out, and I was an idiot. And I yelled out, don't try and bring your mom into this. And what he was trying to do is he was trying to relate. Like right here, he was relating, still tender and cherished by my mother, or protected, right? And then he goes into overcoming objections, right? Then he taught me, and he said to me, take hold of my words with all your heart and keep my commandments, and you will live, right? And so in that identifying excuses and overcoming, he was relating, saying that I too was a son of my father. And then here comes the excuses. I was still tender and cherished by my mother. That's the excuse, right? And how do we overcome those objections? By relating to it. And then he gives the final value proposition, take hold of my words with all your heart, keep my commandments, and you will live. The ultimate value proposition. The value, relating, identifying excuses and overcoming objections, and then the value proposition. And this all comes from something that was written 3,000 years ago. I can't take credit for it. What it is it's wisdom. And wisdom is the right use of knowledge, and the only place we could get wisdom is by spending time with him. And so when we spend time with him, it's amazing because he will give us that wisdom and then give us the understanding also. Here's the next one is that he gives us the charge. And the charge is in verse 4 through 13. And he says, wisdom and understanding. Like if you get wisdom and understanding, everything will be cool. Everything will be cool. It'll be simple. Just get wisdom and understanding. What is wisdom? It's the right use of knowledge. Where do we get it? From the fear of God. How can we fear God? It's just by respecting him. How can we respect him? By spending time with him one-on-one. And when we see that his character and his word is right in line, then we start to respect him. And when we respect him, guess what he gives us? Wisdom, which is the right use of knowledge. Then he could bring in knowledge. Then he could bring in understanding from that knowledge. And God says, like in verse 4 through 13, just get wisdom, just get understanding. That's it. And then he gives the benefits of it. It will protect you, watch over you, cherish you. It'll exalt you. It'll honor you. It'll reward you. It'll give you life. It'll keep you on the right path. It'll keep you from stumbling, and your life depends on it. Imagine that. Here's the charge. Just get wisdom and understanding. But then I'm going to give you all the benefits of it. And if you don't get them, there's going to be challenges. But I'm going to give you all the benefits for wisdom and understanding. And imagine if you had these in your life. It will protect you, watch over you, cherish you, exalt you, honor you, reward you, give you life, keep you on the right path, keep you from stumbling. And oh yeah, your life depends on it. Wisdom and understanding. And then he goes on in verse 14 to 17 to what to avoid, right? And what to avoid, don't step foot. He says, step foot. And then he says, don't walk. And then he says, don't travel. Think of this. He took us through all of them. Don't step foot, because that's how you start. That's how you start to walk, is by stepping foot. So don't step foot, because I know if you step foot, then you're going to walk. And if you walk, then you're going to travel. But most of us get to the traveling point without realizing that we stepped foot and that we started walking. And then we're on the path, or we're traveling down the road, and we're wondering, why is all this happening? What God is saying, just avoid stepping foot. But if you've stepped foot, don't walk. And if you're walking, don't travel down the road that I did not intend for you. And he says this in verse 14 through 17. And then he lets you know, you will stumble, you will experience violence, and you will experience wickedness. He's given us exactly what to avoid. And then he says the right path. And the right path is in verse 18 and 19. And it says, the right path is bright like the morning sun. Really, really simple. It's bright. You're going to see everything. You're going to see things coming. The path that is right for you is going to be lit up. It's not going to be dark. It's not going to be mysterious. It's going to be lit up. And Then he finishes it and saying, do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? I told you, like from the very, 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 very beginning, like number one, I already know all these things. So I want you to listen, pay attention, and gain understanding. Then he set it up, right? He set it up and said that here's the value I'm relating to you. I'm going to identify all your excuses and overcome your objections. And here's the ultimate value proposition. And then he gave us the charge. I will protect you, watch over you, cherish you, exalt you, honor you, reward you, give you life, keep you on the right path, keep you from stumbling. And, oh, by the way, your life depends on it, and all you need to do is get wisdom and understanding. That's it. And then he knew that we were going to be a bonehead and still continue to go down the wrong road sometimes. So he said, this is what to avoid. Don't step foot on it, don't walk on it, and don't travel on it. Because if you do, you will stumble, you will experience violence and wickedness. How clear. And then he's like, okay, oh yeah, this is what the right path looks like. The right path is going to look like, in this verse 18 and 19, it's bright as like the morning sun. And then he said, do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Do you understand the words that are coming out? Like, I already know what you're going to go through. And in verse 20 through 27, he says, pay attention, turn your ear, turn your sight and your heart towards me, and I'll give your whole body health. And then he says, once that happens, I need you to guard your heart. I need you to watch your mouth. I need you to protect your eyes. Beware of your steps and just keep your blinders on for me. See, he already knows what is ahead. He loves you more than you will ever know. He knows that if you will simply focus on him, he will provide above your needs. He has given us the framework, and that's just to spend one-on-one time with him, and he'll deliver. I laugh because there's so many times where I complicate things up. And this is what my pops would say to me all the time. He'd say, boy, it's not complicated. It's not complicated. He would say, boy, you have one choice. If you haven't gone back and listened to the previous episode, it's about the choice. We only have one choice, and that's to choose God's best or our best. And when we choose God's best, guess what happens? A lot better than we could ever imagine. See, I had an experience yesterday, 2 days ago. I went to cook dinner, and it was a Green Chef, and Green Chef is awesome. You know, I should be sponsored by them. It has the right portions, all the stuff, and then they give you all the ingredients, so you get to cook it. And you can spend time with your family while you're doing this. So I thought it would be a good thing for Maddox and I to be able to do this. So I called Maddox in. I'm like, hey, man, we're going to make, dinner. He's like, which one, Dad? And I said, you're going to be my sous chef. You got to chop up the stuff. He loves chopping the stuff. And then I said, where's the instructions? And we went through all the stack of instructions, couldn't find them. And then I said, well, can you look online? And he was like, oh, I don't know where they're at. And that's how I heard it. He didn't say it like that, but that's how I heard it as a dad. And what I heard was, I'm not willing to do the work, Dad. I just want it to happen immediately. So then I turned into old school dad. And I was like, yo, you need to work hard, like all these things. Life isn't going to give you all the answers. You got to be able to push through it. And I started raising my voice, and my son was so freaked out. And he ran out to my mom, to his mom, and he was sitting with my wife. And I was like, "Don't go to your mom. Like she ain't got that. Your life's not gonna have your mom with you all the time." And I'm being an idiot, and he's almost crying, and my wife's like, what's going on? I'm like, he just, is not taking responsibility, and I'm getting angrier and angrier, and God is just dealing with me on it. And then I went back through the stack of instructions, and guess what I found? The instructions, even though I was blaming my son for not working hard, I was the one that wasn't working hard. I learned the lesson. But as I'm going through this, God already knew. God already knew that the instructions were inside the stack. But he already knew that there was some things inside me that he needed to work with. And it was crazy because I learned a bunch of lessons in it. Number one, what was the vibe? Like the vibe was not my energy that I brought into it. Like, oh, we're going to do this. But the way in which people felt about us doing this, which my son didn't feel really well about it. And it was because of my attitude. And see, God already knew what was inside me. He knew that there were some things that were causing me that he needed to deal with. And I learned the lesson. It was tough though, because I had to apologize to my son, and I wanted to be like, oh, I found the instructions, then not tell him. But I went to him on the dog walk. I said, hey son, I just want to apologize to you. And he was like, no big deal, Dad. And I was telling my men's group yesterday, that's when you read in scripture where he says, like, you know, you don't have to, don't look for revenge, because if you are kind to somebody who despitefully uses you, it's like heaping hot burning coals on their head. And when he just forgave me so quickly, it was almost as if God convicted me even more and was like, yo, that's not what you're supposed to do, man. And I had to apologize to him. So I want to encourage all of you that you are going to make mistakes. You're going to have the green chef and get mad at your kids. But what God always does is it gives us a get out of jail free card to be able to come back to him and just say, like, I messed up. And he'll take and separate you from your actions. He'll separate them as far as from east is to west. He's not trying to keep a tally of wrongs, anything like that. He's got grace for you, but he needs you to have grace for yourself right now. He needs you to have grace and be able to sit into that. And see, this is was amazing from yesterday, is literally he already knows. He's just asking us to listen, pay attention, and gain understanding. He's setting it up for us. He's letting us know there's only a couple things we need: wisdom and understanding, what to avoid, what it looks like on the right path. And then he wants us to know, do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Because if not, I'll continue to have them come out of my mouth, because I love you exactly where you're at right now. The Vibe Room is coming July 23rd, Salt Lake City, Edison House. Thank you to Patrick Packer, Justin Williams, and Kevin Borland for your sponsorship of the podcast, of the Vibe Room, and you guys being alliance partners with us. The High Fives Foundation, Melon Hats with Roy Tuscany. He's going to be there. Miguel Mendoza is going to be playing music. It's going to be unbelievable. And I want to thank you all for tuning into the podcast. Make sure you check out the episodes where I interview some of the most iconic people in the world. We've also got this, which is Inchstones. We got playlists for all of them. And then we've got You Have to Meet My Friends, where I call my friends randomly while I'm live on the podcast. It has been my honor and pleasure to be with you. My name is Kelly Cardenas, and I'm officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and soul.
Nothing more on my mind. I got to shine, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make